Now, at this point, thank you, Archbishop Blair, for that. We go to action item number 5, and I believe there's a demonstration involved in this, Archbishop Blair.
Yes, there is. Bishops, the second action item from the Committee on Divine Worship is the translation of the hymns of the Liturgy of the Hours. Many of you will recall that in November 2012, we approved a scope of work for a new edition of the breviary. At that time, we voted to ask ISIL to translate all the Latin hymns in the typical edition of the Liturgy of the Hours, with the clear intention that our new breviary will incorporate the hymns of the Latin edition. The consensus at that time was that anyone who wished to use other hymns would certainly be free to do so by using other hymnals approved for liturgical use. Now, after the passing of these years, ISIL has finished its work, and the proposed translations of the 294 hymns of the breviary are now before you. The translators have aimed to capture the content of the Latin text with fidelity and precision, and I hope you'll agree that these texts are incredibly rich in their theology and in their imagery. Now, you'll notice that they do not rhyme, but I would point out that the Latin originals typically do not rhyme either. The translations do, however, maintain a meter and the accentuation patterns of the Latin. And this is extremely important because it means that the English texts will work very well for recitation, but more importantly, they'll sing very well to both popular hymn tunes and to the Gregorian melodies of the tradition of the Latin Rite. Because of the importance of the carefully designed meter and accentuation that's required of hymnody, we're proposing that this be a non-amendable action item. Certainly, if you catch a typo or something of that nature, you can bring it to the attention of our staff. Approval of this text requires affirmative vote by 2/3 of the Latin Church members of the USCCB, with subsequent confirmatio of the Congregation for Divine Worship and the discipline of the sacraments. Before we proceed to discussion and vote, we've arranged for a demonstration of these new translations, and we're very happy to have with us today Monsignor Andrew Wadsworth, the Executive Director of ISIL, and others representing the work of ISIL. Our choir present with us today is under the direction of Mr. Adam Bartlett, and the singers are from the Catholic University of America and from Focus, the Fellowship of Catholic University Students. At your places, you'll notice you have this short fascicle among your documents with several musical settings. And here's what we'd like to do. We'll have the choir sing a first verse, and then everyone else is invited to join in. So if you would go to the item in there after turning the first page, the circled item number 1. This is the ancient hymn, Te Lucis ante terminum, a 7th century hymn we use at night prayer for much of the year. There are many well-known melodies that would work with this text, but today we'll sing it with a tune called Tallis's Canon. So let's begin. The choir will sing the first verse, and then we can join in singing the rest.
Oh
And now we'll sing the same hymn, but using music based on the Gregorian melody found in the Liber Hymnarius. Again, the choir will go first, and then we'll join them. And this is the circle number 2. The flexibility that has been demonstrated here is very important. Religious communities and seminaries, for example, might want to incorporate the Gregorian melodies into their prayer. But in other settings, in a parish or at a special event, the ability to use a better known tune will perhaps be appreciated. I'd like to ask us to do one more. This time we'll sing a more modern hymn that is used for the common of doctors of the Church. The author was Father Anselmo Lentini, a Benedictine who led the committee that arranged the hymns for the breviary after the Second Vatican Council. This meter is perhaps not as commonly used, but I think you'll recognize the melody, which is sometimes referred to as Poitiers. After the choir sings the first verse, we'll join them in just singing the second verse.
Gracious
finally, let's sing it with the Gregorian melody. This is circled item number 4. The choir will sing a verse, and then we'll join them for the second verse only and conclude with the Amen.
Christ, we revere you as eternal teacher, graciously showing laws for our salvation, solely possessing words of life and wisdom. Rightly we praise you. Lord, we acclaim you as the world's good shepherd, for you established your true bride in wisdom, that she might always lead in word and witness, light to all nations.
Well, very fine, and I hope that this demonstration has been helpful to all of us in appreciating the work and the value of what's being proposed. Thank you, Adam, and the members of the choir, and thank you, Monsignor Wadsworth, and all of those who have collaborated in ISIL for the work, the tremendous work, really, that's been done on these beautiful hymns. So at this time, I'm happy to take any questions of clarification that the bishops may have.
Brother Bishops, any questions? Yes, I see someone back there. Can't tell. Bishop, please.
Father Mike Malloy, a diocesan administrator from Rapid City. My question simply is, do you know in the long-term project if the melodies to these hymns will be included in the breviary? Right now our 4-volume just has the words, does not have the music. And it would be so helpful to be able to have those melodies so that we can master these songs.
We anticipate these being published as a hymnal, in which case the melodies would be provided, but not in the actual breviary itself, for, I think, reasons of length and such.
Bishop Coyne.
Archbishop, we had, in the Committee on Divine Worship, we had talked about the possibility of an app. I know there are good ones out there already, and there's one in English that already provides the melody for the hymns as well as spoken word. But I think it would be very helpful if the conference would consider a breviary app to supplement the 4-volume and to do exactly what Father Malloy suggested, which would be to provide the hymn settings, the musical settings, so that when we're praying by ourselves and you see a meter 6.66 and you say, I have no idea what that is, but we can have the musical text for our own use.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out on behalf of the committee. Needless to say, we have discussions about an app and being well aware of the use that's made and the help that this can provide, so that would be very much taken into consideration in all of these questions.
Others, no? See no other cards up. Okay. Archbishop Blair, can we move the motion then?
I now move that the Latin Church members of the USCCB approve the ISIL Grey Book translation of the hymns of the Liturgy of the Hours for use in the dioceses of the United States of America.
For this item, 2/3 of the Latin Church members.
You're not on. There it is.
You want to use mine? Our singing wasn't that bad.
So for this item, 2/3 of the Latin Church members with subsequent confirmatio by the Congregation for Divine Worship, Discipline of Sacraments. That number is 164 affirmative votes to pass. So we'll open the voting when the clock appears in the lower right-hand corner. The voting is open. Please vote now. I'm back. Voting is closed. We'll tally the vote and we'll integrate the votes.
Yes, thank you to our wonderful choir.
We too would like to, Archbishop Blair, thank the choir, Senior Wadsworth and all for coming for the demonstration. Thanks.
Looks like we're ready to display the vote. "205 yes votes. The translation of hymns of liturgy hours passes.
Thank you very much, and I must say this has been a tremendous effort on the part of ISIL, carried out very competently, and want to thank them and also our own Office for Divine Worship for all of their long efforts and this ongoing project of revitalizing our translations and the liturgy. So thanks to you very much.
Thank you, Archbishop Blair, for subbing for Archbishop Gregory. Thanks to the whole committee. Thanks you for this very important work in the liturgy. Thanks.